puppet masters programs and
I can remember when it dawned on me that WWE, WWF wrestling wasn't real. I don't know. I just remember like it was. I was like watching it. I think it was maybe between Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan and shit, and it just had dawned to me. Maybe I was around like 8. You know, I was a late bloomer with my imagination, but I remember when it dawned on me, I was like, man, that's not real. He didn't really hit him with that chair. But I'm glad that I realized it at 8, because then 9, 10, 11, and 12 on up, I started viewing it as entertainment. I no longer took it seriously. Same thing with Santa Claus. You know, it's something about when somebody's running a play, when you come to that clarity and that reality, you realize that you're either aware of the program or you're not. Jerry Springer, all of the reality shows, all of that. It just, so then all of the other things that are connected to being false, you really recognize it. Because that one camera is there to condition you. And you know, same thing with 9/11. You know, there was never a plane found at the Pentagon. But you know, we seem to overlook all those devils in the details. Because we're dealing with the enemy that has compromised every element. They have compromised the soil. They poisoned all of the female trees. They've compromised the water. Now our water's contaminated. They've even compromised the air. The only thing that they haven't compromised as of today is the sun. And you know, Bill Gates is currently working on that. But at some point, as powerful as the indoctrination may be, all psychological operations have an expiration date. And that's when you get that moment of clarity. So when we're dealing with crisis actors and people that, you know, work the spin, and you start realizing that the news and all of them have the same script. Everyone has the same agenda. And then it seems like every race feels like everyone is against them. That's when you have to realize that there's a puppet master. When you see that just things aren't adding up historically, all of the statues and monuments are of indigenous people, but yet all we have is European faces as your gods, you know, as your leaders and your presidents, as if it's nobody else ever had any culture. Then you start to notice the caste system all over the world. The brighter the skin, the more reverence. The darker the skin, the more treated wrong. And then there's biased views. You know, black people are talking too much about their race, or they have no right to mourn for their children when they get slaughtered. You know, that's insanity. If you really are a moral person, you realize that, man, evil is evil, man. Children are children. Elderly people are elderly people. You know, this flesh thing has got everybody programmed, because if it really was about flesh, then how come everybody's fucking evil? That's what you have to understand. Because every race I look at, rather African, Asian, Chinese, they all evil than a motherfucker. You know, excuse my German, but they all wicked. But at the same time, they're all good people. And most people, when they start off, if they got good parents, they end up having a good life. That's the balance of things, you know. But I mean, it's nature for us to be territorial, but it's so much deception involved with it to when we can't see the plays. And especially now that AI is here, we'll never be able to discern between what's right and what's wrong, what's real and what's false, because of the technology that's involved. Example, the resemblance between Cyrus and Trayvon Martin. That has to be compromised just a bit. I mean, what is the coincidence in their birthdays are days apart? we have to understand that a lot of things repeat itself. It could be a lot of aspects of things, but we are in a world of illusion and deception. And now we have to realize that just like wrestling wasn't real, everything is rigged. Everything is rigged. Everything is compromised. And it's been compromised by the greater evil. Those same people who got away with all of the last things that we've known that happened in them files. Because they're the masters of technology and deception. And what is the solution? Because I love to talk about solution. And I've mentioned this before many times. Understanding yourself. Going deep within. All in the in-between of yourself. Going to your subconscious. Allowing your subconscious to drive the car. And let your conscious mind that's been programmed take the the passenger side. Let the subconscious drive. You know what I'm saying? So you can retain your memory and understand that you are a multidimensional being who's already psychic, who naturally can do the same things the birds do without a book. They know how to go south for the winter. Everything naturally knows what it's supposed to do. Tap within yourself and understand that those are the true Akashic records. That's subconscious. Because it's always listening and looking for answers. And then, again, I say, you are either aware of the program or you are not. At this point, because the further and further you get into the ignorance and get caught up with the flesh, the quicker and quicker you're going to have the microchips a part of your flesh. You're going to have the digital idea. You're going to be a cyborg, and you're really going to be a slave. You so worried about everybody else being a slave, you don't even know that they're slowly, the puppet masters, are luring you into slavery. Because there's no slavery once they got them digital chips in you and you connected into the beast, the system that is compromised. Remember, the earth, the air with the chemicals, the water with the chemicals. Everything's been compromised. Every element. From the food that you eat. Everything that you do is controlled. And the whole motive is to put the nanotechnology in you so you can be tracked. Because you're already enslaved. Because you keep believing. And they're steady deceiving. So again, you are either aware of the program or you are not. And you are just a part of the program. And that's what the goal is. So, the solution, ignore the programs, television programs, radio programs, because all of it's been compromised. And search within, because your discernment is the only thing that can save you from these beasts. Ancient Nine Mystery School, Saint Germain.